I have made a lot of glitch videos over the years, and the past few I've spent covering ones in Nintendo Switch games. It's always fun to see a new game released, and more exciting to see what glitches are possible in them. Well, today, I'm here to cover my personal top 10 glitches I've done in Switch games. Basically, I'm going back into all the videos I've made and selecting the best 10 I've performed. Most of these will be useful ones to know when playing, and others are just fun to mess around with. I'll have a little rating scale for each displaying the difficulty and usefulness. Really excited to go back and visit some of these games, so let's get right into it. Kicking off this list is a glitch in The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, bomb clipping. We're able to clip out of bounds in the overworld using bombs and ladders. Have bombs and Rock's Feather equipped and then find a ladder. I'm starting with the one in Martha's Bay. Position Link so his feet are just touching the edge of the wood and place a bomb down. Now climb onto the ladder and go down slightly. As the bomb is flashing, jump up and hold forward for a second. You should land back on the ground, the bomb will explode, and Link will just fall below the level. You're now out of bounds in some water, so swim left and down to pop back through the wall. You're now able to explore the overworld from below. You can swim down, but the camera won't even follow you, so you have to use your map as a guide. Don't swim too far down, or you'll pop and get warped back to the ladder. You can swim into the desert and go around the bottom right corner of the map. I was able to swim up for a while before I finally voided out. But since I was so far away from the original ladder, it took a second for the graphics to load back in. I tried again, went back to the desert so I got the new camera effect, swam below the map, and headed back to the left. The game didn't realize I left the desert since I never walked past the trigger, so I was able to bring this effect into the grassy areas, which is pretty neat. As soon as I swam back onto the screen, it got corrected. Moving over to this one near Turtle Rock, you're able to clip below and land on the ground out of bounds. If you keep walking up, you'll land on the mountain and be able to walk up around near the Windfish Egg. You can get some pretty good views from up here, and it's just fun to mess around. You can keep going further to the right, fall for a little bit, and land on some ground with the camera really screwed up. Now you can see all the game's textures from really close up. If you keep walking far down here, you'll fall below the entire map and get a funny shot of Link falling into the black abyss. These two ladders are really fun to mess around with, but sadly, I can't say the same about the others. Doing this glitch in any of the other ladders in the game will just cause you to void out below the map and place you back in bounds. I tried every single one, and the only other one that gave me some sort of results was this one in the Tall Mountain range. You can land on solid ground, technically out of bounds, but there's nothing really to do here. You have a really small platform to stand on, and you can either clip back in bounds or fall and void out. I wish all the ladders did something interesting, but I still really loved running around the mountain and swimming below the map. Moving along to number 9, Super Mario Odyssey, and a neat out-of-bounds spot in the Snow Kingdom. Down by the Bound Bull racetrack, you'll find a Chivarian racer you can capture. Bring him over to this ledge on the right of the viewing area. Slowly move him so he's pushing up against the edge of the glass. We now just need to let go of the control stick and tap B repeatedly to make him bound up and down. You don't need to go too crazy with mashing or he'll just get out of control. He'll begin to bonk off the top wooden part, which is what we want. Once you think you got the timing down, right as he's about to make contact with the ceiling, press ZL to uncapture him, and if you got the timing right, you should clip out of bounds. You now want to dive towards the land and racetrack. After landing back on the ground, congratulations, you're now out of bounds in an area you're kind of supposed to be able to reach since you do race on it, but this is a very low resolution version of it. You can see the crowd cheering in a low frame rate with some pretty messed up faces, as well as where walls cease to exist since you're never really supposed to see them back here. You may have also noticed that this ground isn't really snow as you sink if you stand still, and even when you run around, it's still kinda slow. When you're done walking through these innocent civilians, why not take a look at the racetrack itself? Getting down there is pretty simple. All you gotta do is jump this gap and land on the ledge below. You're now free to have a look around and get passed by Chivarian racers. But yeah, you're free to explore this whole track with ease and... oh yeah. There's one important thing I should mention, there are invisible holes scattered throughout the entire track that cause you to instantly die, effectively canceling this glitch. I came across a lot of these holes, so I had to perform this glitch at least 10 times to keep trying to make it further and further down the track. For my testing, the best strategy is to follow the wooden path. The best strategy is to just randomly guess where to stand and hope you don't die right on the spot. I wasn't able to make it very far from the original starting point as I just kept dying. I'm sure it is possible to actually make a full lap around, but that would take probably hours of routing. But for what it's worth, it's still a super fun glitch to mess around with until you meet your inevitable doom. Next up is a glitch in the new Pokemon Legends Arceus, one of my favorite games in recent years. We have a neat glitch here involving hyperspeed. Using cliffs, we can upgrade our speed and fly around the world. We're able to do this in other areas, but let's start off in Obsidian Fieldlands. Fly over to the Heights camp, and just up ahead is this spot. A Geodude hanging out next to a small steep cliff. These are the two things that we want to focus on. So normally when you try and climb a cliff that's too steep, you slide back down. Well, while this falling animation is happening, we need to get hit by a Pokemon. Combining the two animations where your character is thrown backwards, you can create this glitch effect where all of your movements are skewed and your speed is increased. Your character won't look in the direction they're running some of the time, and if you try and dive, you simply stay in place. The main focus of this glitch is the speed though. Running around can give you some insane results. It's kind of inconsistent though, so one second you'll be zooming around corners and the next you'll be back to normal speed. It's a tad difficult to control, but it's still a lot of fun to run around. Another word of advice, the glitch seems to get corrected if you take damage from a Pokemon or fall off a cliff. The damage animation interrupts the glitch and cancels it, from what I can tell. You can still fast travel while keeping the glitch active, so you have some freedom there. But once you hit a load zone like heading back to Jubilee Village, the glitch will end. But that's okay, because this glitch is possible in other areas, as well as climbing cliffs. Coronet Highlands is where we'll be heading, as it has plenty of steep slopes. I'm using this area below the Celestia Ruins with the Alpha Gibbite. You can also get this glitch in one of two ways here, falling back onto the Pokemon again, or getting hit with an attack. Either will give you the same results of moonwalking and hyper speed. Not only that, but this skewed angle will also ignore slopes, allowing us to just fly up them like they're flat ground. This alone could be a good strat for speedrunners, as you don't need Sneasler to climb up the slopes. They can still be pretty buggy, giving you a stutter animation that will correct the glitch, but if you pay attention to the cracks in the cliffs, you can get around a lot faster. So overall, this is a very useful movement glitch and can be done pretty much anywhere you can slide off and get hit by a Pokemon at the same time. Pokemon Sword and Shield. I have fond memories with this video. But let's take a look at a really cool out of bounds glitch in here. There's a berry tree on Route 3 that we can use to clip out from. But before we do that, you're going to have to change the date a few times. In order to do that, you're going to have to connect to the internet and enter a ranked battle. So head into the Versus tab on your menu and select Battle Stadium. It doesn't really matter if you actually win or lose this battle, so I just recommend finding an opponent and then choosing to run to end the battle as soon as possible. After that, you're free to back out of all the menus and change the date as many times as you'd like. We needed to do this for a reason you'll see in a second. Back on Route 3, find this berry tree and bike as close as you can to it and this wall. Once it looks like this, press A to begin to shake the tree. You want to encounter a Pokemon that'll drop down after you shake it a bunch, so keep pressing A until that happens. Once it does, you can run away from the battle. After picking up whatever berries are left over, you'll hop back on your bike with the front tire slightly in the tree. This is what we want, as you're now able to move gently inside of the tree. Maneuver yourself so you're facing perpendicular to the wall behind you, and we need to encounter another Pokemon, but there are no berries on the tree, so this is where changing the date comes into play. Press the home button on your controller and go down to System Settings. Scroll all the way down to the bottom for System, and then down a little more for the date and time. If your clock is synced to the internet, just turn it off and change your date one day forward. You can now go back into the game, and the berries will be on the tree again. Staying on your bike, press A to begin shaking it, and if you see your character shift back into the wall, you're on the right track. Encounter a Pokemon and run from it again. After hopping back on your bike and a little bit of wiggling, you should pop right through the wall and out of bounds. You're now free to explore this entire route from all new angles and elevations. You can access the other half of the route by going over this ledge and going across the seam of it. Obviously, the collision out here isn't perfect, so you will be able to see underneath the level and through some of the ground. Going around to the entrance of the mine shaft, the camera can glitch out a good bit as there are set camera angles when you get too close. But try and go back as far as possible and then to the right. You'll pop back out to the other side and can practically fly over the backdrop of the route where the factory is. With some more exploring, I discovered that ledges can actually cause your character to glitch out a good bit too. There's a whole lot to see with this glitch, so I'd highly recommend trying this one out for yourself and seeing what you can find. You can hop off your bike anytime if you want to just mess around on foot too. When you've had enough of being out of bounds, you can't just pop back in by walking. So you have to either open the map and fly to another location, or head over to the entrance of the mine, and upon hitting the load zone, you'll be back to normal. But there's actually more you can do with this glitch. By this ledge, your character will glitch out a lot. If you position yourself in the middle of it and begin tapping left on the control stick repeatedly, you'll begin to slowly fly up into the air. It's important that it's almost perfectly left, or you'll shoot back down to the floor and having to start all over again. We want to get up really high using this glitch, and you'll see why in a second. But this method can be kind of hard, so let's do an easier way. Fly up a little ways and then get off your bike. This will store whatever height you had and can run around freely. Hop back on your bike and push yourself up against the front wall. You can now just tap down repeatedly and you'll slowly begin to rise up again. This time you have a lot more leeway with the direction, so you don't have to worry about falling back down unless you really mess up the angle. But anyway, you can just keep going up and up until you eventually pop through the land on the ceiling of collision. You're now free to ride around basically anywhere you want. You can keep going down until the entire route disappears, or you can head right and enter Motostoke. You want to make sure you stay away from the actual areas you can walk back in bounds, or it'll shoot you back down. Still technically out of bounds, but you'll just lose all your height. Viewing the city from this way is extremely cool, seeing all the models glitch out and such. If you ride down far enough, you'll be able to ride over to the right and access the rest of the city. You can keep going right and reach the Motostoke outskirts, along with a very low quality version of the wild area. I'm really glad you have the ability to see all of this, as Route 3, Motostoke, and the outskirts are all connected. I continued to explore by going around the outside and heading back to the city. I ended up on the top of the stadium, but sadly I pushed my luck a little too much here and shot back down to the ground. It wasn't the worst thing in the world, as I was still out of bounds, so I got to explore some areas that you're never supposed to reach. This area back here looks like you'd be able to get here during the regular game, until you realize that you'd just be running through all the objects and walls. When I had my fun, I ran over to the stadium and hit the loading zone, correcting the glitch entirely. So one final question on my mind was, are you able to do this glitch anywhere else? Sadly, I don't think so. A few people have tried to find other berry trees that are close to a wall, but this one on Route 3 seems to be the only one that it's possible on. It's okay though, as you're still able to get out of bounds in a Pokemon game, which is something you aren't able to do in a few of the other entries in the series. Coming in at number 6 is an out of bounds and sequence break that you can do in Paper Mario: The Origami King. It takes place pretty early in the game at Autumn Mountain. Right when you arrive off the tram, there's a staircase and railings. Hop on the back of one and try and jump in between it and the wooden pole behind it. It can be very tricky to do this, so my best recommendation is facing upright so that Mario's back is turned, standing here so there's a tiny little corner of wood you can see behind the back of his outline, jump, and then tap forward. If you land in between the two, you're on the right track. Now we gotta change direction, but if we simply move the control stick, Mario will pop out. Luckily, we can pivot by using confetti. Hold down ZL or ZR and then turn Mario around so he's facing you and staring off to the left. You can release the confetti as we still have to do one more hard jump. This can be really difficult, so let me slow it down. We need to clear this railing behind us, which we can't do with the normal jump. Since we're wedged in between this pole and railing, the collision around us is a little messed up already. You want to jump and hold up on the control stick right after you leave the ground, and then shift over to upright as we land on the railing and walk right on out of bounds. Again, the timing can be tricky, but just make sure you're in the air before you touch the control stick at all, or this won't work. You also want to make sure that you shift to an upright position on the control stick, or else you'll just jump right through the pole and land on the ground below. Here's the glitch again at full speed. Land inside the crevice, pivot using the confetti, and then make this hard jump to land out of bounds. It might not seem like it since we're still on solid ground, but we're actually in front of the fence that's supposed to block you from being here. You might notice the screen keeps transitioning now, as there's a load zone, which completely confused me for a minute as I kept going back and forth. But just keep trying to go to the right until the game lets you walk behind the tram. You can see the area this load zone was supposed to take me to, and now we're free to hop down this ledge and into the tall grass. We've now skipped past a good amount of the intro stuff for this area, which is really nice. You'd normally have to sit through a bunch of dialogue and cutscenes, but since I did it right when I got off the tram, I just skipped it all. We're now free to continue on with the game, starting with losing Bobby in the tall grass. This is when I got the idea to go back and try to trigger the cutscenes from earlier since he was supposed to be with us when we do. Surprisingly, the dialogue still plays out and the game still thinks Bobby is here, but just invisible. You'll see text boxes float across the screen and others point to thin air. It's pretty amusing watching them play out this way. But after this little section is over, that seems to be where the effects of this glitch end. I tried to go through the Water Elemental Shrine to see if I could go back and trigger the intro cutscene for the spot on the ground, but nothing unusual happened. I guess since I already unlocked it, the game doesn't even attempt to play it, so we're completely back to normal. Animal Crossing: New Horizons. If you've been a viewer of this channel for a while, you'll know I've made plenty of videos on this game. Well, this is a glitch that I've always loved and wanted to see, getting up to the 4th floor or layer. Using the cliff construction permit, you were always able to build a 4th layer, but you can never actually get up there. Well, now you can. All you need is a picked flower, and I'd recommend having a ladder too so you can actually get down without having to call the rescue services or save and quit your game. I also grabbed some items and trees to decorate the place once we got up there. So, if you don't already have a 4th layer of land somewhere, build some, and let's get started. Go around the backside of your land while standing on the 3rd layer and begin hollowing out a 2x2 box. You need to leave one of the back corners rounded, it doesn't matter which, but it needs to look like this or flipped. Once you have this, stand inside the pocket, face the middle of the opening, and place the picked flower down. It's important that it's in the middle and not off to the side or this won't work. So now our setup's complete and we're ready to hop up onto the 4th floor. Pull out the cliff construction shovel if you don't have it out already, and kind of stand in this corner but also up against the flower like you see here on screen. This next step is a little weird. You want to press A and point the control stick in the direction of the larger gap, not the rounded corner. So in my case here, down right. Your character will do a little buggy animation like they're about to start adding dirt, but they won't. This means you're on the right track. Honestly, I don't have a surefire way to get this to work, but just keep standing here, pressing A and down right, and eventually you'll add more dirt and pop right up to the 4th floor. Congratulations! Once you're up here, you're free to do whatever you want, but there are some limitations. You can't terraform at all up here, which kind of sucks as I wanted to add a waterfall or some paths, but you can't. You can place trees and just about any other item you want as well. I'm glad I get the opportunity to show you guys my design skills. What do you think? Pretty sweet, right? I experimented as much as I could to see what I could get away with, but I didn't have a lot of luck. You aren't able to place houses or other buildings up here, which I guess kind of makes sense, but that would have been fun. So you're pretty much limited to regular items, trees, and yourself, which is the best one. When you're done being up here, you can get down with a ladder, or any other way you see fit. But now you have some extra space to place decorations and spice up your island yet again. I would be a little cautious with what you put up here though, as who knows what will happen to these after a patch comes out for this glitch. So don't say I didn't warn you. I also experimented with getting up using other directions of land, and it actually gave me some different results. Doing it from a side angle will pop your character right up there just like the back does. However, if you do it facing forward, you won't just shoot up to the top. Instead, your character will get shoved halfway into the wall and begin to shake violently. From here, I managed to get a few other different things to happen. You can just pick up the flower and start over, or you can use your cliff shovel again, which will either cause this, or it'll actually push you up to the 4th floor. So since this direction is pretty inconsistent, I just recommend doing the back side of the cliff, or on the side. Number 4 is going to be Breath of the Wild and one of the most sought after glitches people wanted to do when it first came out. Getting off the Great Plateau early. Normally you have to do a lot on the plateau in order to get the glider and fly off the island. And I mean a lot. However, all we need to do now is get the Stasis and Magnesis ruins, which can be acquired by these 2 shrines. Once you have them, head over to this area. You'll find a metal door in this pit, so pick it up with Magnesis and bring it up and over to this ledge. Adjust the angle of it so it's facing towards the lake, as that's what we're going to be landing in. Once you're happy with the lineup, switch to Stasis and freeze the door. We need to hit it a lot of times, so I recommend the woodcutter's axe that you get right at the beginning of the game. You want to get the max number of hits and then hop on the door before the stasis wears off. You'll get sent towards the lake, and then as Link is over the water, walk off the door. We want to aim near the land, as if you land too deep, you could just drown. But there you go, you're now off the Great Plateau early. Now that we're down here, there is one important thing worth mentioning: you aren't entirely free. Even though we're off the plateau, there is still a death barrier surrounding the entire area. As long as you stay relatively close by, you'll be fine. If you do go too far, Link will die right on the spot and be placed back on the plateau. I recommend you save while you're down here. That way if you go too far, you can just reload and try again. There really aren't a whole lot of sights to see and nothing to really interact with. Even if you got a horse, it wouldn't change anything. I am curious if there was a shrine down here, would that update the death barrier and allow us to access the rest of Hyrule? Maybe it's for the best though, as playing through the game without a glider would be pretty difficult as it is. Entering the top 3 glitches here, so they gotta be getting good. This one is a surprise in Luigi's Mansion 3. Believe it or not, this game has a pretty game-breaking glitch, the Luigi push. You can do this by backing Luigi into a corner or wall, pulling out the vacuum, and keeping it on while you switch over to Luigi. There are now 2 options you can do. You can simply stun him with your flashlight and walk into him, which will help him get through thin walls or collision, and the other way is shooting a plunger onto his head, stunning, and then pushing him. This will mess up his position even more, allowing you to shoot up higher if he's in the right spot. This glitch alone is extremely useful and also just fun to mess around with. But there's one important detail you need to know. When you start up the game from the Switch's home menu, there will be a random seed assigned to Luigi's hitbox. This affects how well you're able to push him using this glitch. Sometimes you may get a bad seed and the push will barely affect him at all. Other times it'll be really good and you'll be able to do a bunch of crazy things. In order to change this value and reset it, you'll have to close out of the game and reload it. You can't just quit to the main menu and reload a different save. The application has to be closed entirely to generate a new seed. You'll be able to tell whether it's good or bad when you go to do the glitch depending on how much Luigi moves. This seed will carry over into any save as long as you don't close the game now. So speedrunners will use this by going into a save to make sure they have a good seed and then returning to the title screen to start their run. So once you know you have a good seed, I'd recommend keeping the game open while you perform the tricks with it. On the 6th floor during the story, you'll quickly reach this area overlooking the Colosseum. You're supposed to go over to the door on the left, but take Luigi over to this gate where you normally leave the boss fight at the end. Back him up into this gate with his vacuum out and then flash and push him in with Luigi. If you have the correct seed, you'll pop right through the gate and to the other side. Follow the path around and down the stairs where we'll have to do another push. This time, kinda in the dark. We're behind a wall so it can be hard to see, but there's still an outline. Push Luigi into the corner of the door, and then do another push after shooting a plunger onto his head. Luigi will pop right through and into the boss room. It doesn't activate right away as the trigger is by the door to the left, so after walking near it, the cutscene of Luigi walking through the door will trigger, even though we did not come from there. Anyway, now you're able to take on the boss, get the button, and basically skip past this entire floor. When I first came into the room to do the glitch, I never triggered the beginning cutscene, so after clearing the floor, I went back and watched it play out. The lighting shifts back to dark abruptly, and he taunts me with the floor button. But then right after the cutscene is over, we're back to normal with the button still in our possession. Just a quick warning with this glitch, skipping to the boss fight prevents you from exploring the rest of the floor here. The game assumes you've collected all the keys after defeating the boss, so now none of the keys are spawned in, even though we never collected them. So a little ways into it, you'll be locked behind a door. I even tried to go around the other way from the boss door, but again, there's a key that we need, but we can never get. So if you wanted to 100% this game and collect all the gems, you wouldn't be able to anymore. So I'd only recommend doing this glitch during speedruns or on a second playthrough. Down in this main area of Boiler Works, there is yet another Luigi push we can do. Clear out this corner below the ladder and back Luigi into it. Do the usual plunger, flash, and push, and Luigi should land right on top of his head. Now quickly do a burst, and Luigi will get launched up onto the platform above. You're now free to knock the ladder down and explore the door to the right. You can come over here to the sewer area before it's even flooded. You're normally supposed to trigger a cutscene where Clem turns on the water and fills up the whole area, but now you can see this section before that happens. Sadly, you can't progress the story without starting the cutscene, so even though you can get down here, the camera does not follow Luigi around as you explore the sewers. You can still guide Luigi using the minimap, but there's currently no known way to transition the camera to the next area, or even progress in the story. When I came back, I wasn't even able to climb up the ladders, so I was stuck down here and had to reload a previous save. Doing the glitch in this spot seems like it has potential, but at the moment, it's kinda useless. Next up on our Luigi pushing adventure is skipping past a Mario cutscene right before the final boss. Mario leads you out onto the roof and is trying to guide you, but let's ignore him. Back Luigi into this corner with his vacuum out. Switch to Luigi, plunger, flash, and then push him. He should land on top of this pillar and now you can just walk off the edge and die. You're not actually dead, Luigi just spawned a little further away on the roof, but getting the camera to transition over is a little tricky. I just wiggled the control stick around until it finally panned over and caught back up to him. We're now on the other side past Mario, without having to watch his wall jump cutscene. This can be useful in a speedrun to shave off those valuable seconds. If that side isn't working out, you can do it in this corner as well, with basically the same setup. Again, it took me a while to actually get the camera to transition over. This time when I did it though, I decided to go back and mess with Mario. You can basically do whatever you want as the cutscene doesn't trigger until you get really close to him. Since I activated it with Luigi, Mario just kinda clipped through Luigi as he went to hop up, which is kinda funny. Okay, now it's time for one of the most broken and well-known glitches in Mario Maker 2, the black hole. A glitch that, well, acts like a black hole, allowing you to place practically unlimited objects inside of it. This glitch has many variations as it survived multiple patches, but in the newest version, there's still a very easy setup for one. So start off in a blank Mario World level, and the first thing we have to do is place down a swinging claw. It doesn't really matter where. Next, we need a big hammer bro inside of the claw, so place one down, make them big, and throw them in there. Now pull out the copy tool and create a duplicate of the hammer bro, then place him back on top of the other. With two in there, hold on one and make them small again. Press play to start the level, stop shortly after, and then simply undo twice. This should kind of separate the two hammer bros with one staying big. Grab a hold of the claw, which will still be holding the smaller hammer bro, move it out of the way, and you can erase it as we no longer need it. All we need is this big guy right here. But we need 50 of him, so go into the clear condition section and make it so we have to defeat the, oh, it's called the sludge bro. But yes, We need 50. So pull out the copy tool and just keep clicking the Sledge Bro until we see 50. And there you go. You now have a black hole. If you need to move it at any time, you can pull out the multi-select tool and highlight the box. Then you can drag it around. But what can we actually do with it? Well, an easy effect we can achieve is stacking items on top of each other. Start by placing said item on the side of the black hole and then place it on one of the 4 tiles the Sledge Bros are in. You can just repeat this step over and over and over again. But yeah, once you have as many as you want, you can simply press play and enjoy the lovely visuals. Things like arrow signs and fire bars can have some pretty neat effects. Upon going back into editing, you may notice that some of the objects are gone. They aren't destroyed or anything, they're just invisible and a little buggy. For me, dragging the multi-select tool over the empty space where it used to be will bring it back. Erasing duped items can be a bit of a pain too. Sometimes they just don't want to leave, so moving them may correct that. Sometimes. And other objects will just not go away, or even be able to be selected. So I guess they're just permanently stuck here now. But yeah, the possibilities are pretty endless with this. One of my favorites are the dotted line blocks. You can get some strange effects where you can stand on the off blocks, which looks super cool. Enjoy making new mechanics, boss fights, or platforms using this. That's not all we can do with the black hole though. Have you ever wanted 2D items in the Mario 3D World theme? Or even just a T-posing dry bones? Well, I got the solution for both. Item smuggling is a really cool side effect of the black hole glitch, as you can get items in world styles you were never supposed to. So start off in a blank 3D world. We have to undo a bunch back to this point, so it's kind of creating an anchor point to go back to later on. Switch over to the Mario world style again, and we're going to be doing a slightly different black hole method. Draw a tiny track in the air like this, and then switch over to the swinging claw. We want to place it on the track, but it's really important that you just hold A and place it and then drag it over to the track. Do not place it off the track and then throw it on. Place it and lock it in with one hold of the A button. We now need to do the same thing with a hammer bro. Again, hold A to place and drag it into the claw. Now that we have this contraption, we can remove the track by grabbing it and simply sliding it over to the end point. Now that we only have the hammer bro and claw, turn them into a Sledge Bro again and press play on the level. Then back out to editing again. We now need to undo twice, which should cause the claw to let go of the Sledge Bro. This is the start of our black hole, so now we need to copy the Sledge Bro a bunch. To do this, multi-select the bro, click copy on the box, and then deselect it. It may not look like it, but we're duplicating a bunch of these guys. Keep doing it until you hear this clicking sound. This means we've reached the limit, which is what we want. Now you can place down any item you want to smuggle over to the 3D world. I'm going to be doing a dry bone shell as it creates a really neat effect. Quick thanks to Spark Mario Maker for the item suggestion and setup for this in general. But place the item you want inside the black hole like this, and then you're pretty much done. Repeatedly press undo until you're back in the 3D world, which will take some time as you have to undo all those copies and placing. But eventually, the undos will pause, and the world will transition back to 3D, with this in place of our dry bone shell. We can mess around with it in the actual play mode, but we need some ground for it to stand on, as well as the 100 Sledge Bros that are about to explode all over the level. It took me a couple of tries to set the land up right, and as I'm saying this, I'm pretty sure you can just grab the Sledge Bro and either move him or delete him. But I ended up using this weird land placement, and got a star to kill all the bros, leaving us with this, a beautiful T-posing dry bones. He won't move or do anything really, he just stands there, menacingly. But he behaves really weird now, so you can still die to him if you just walk up. But we imported a dry bone shell, so where's that at? It's actually at the bottom of his model, and you can see it when you jump on him. You'll start flashing like you took damage, which was us collecting the shell, but then immediately tanking damage from standing inside of him. So we have to use the invincibility frames to jump back in and grab the shell. Now you can definitely tell we're inside a dry bone shell as we walk like this. This in itself was worth it as it just looks so weird. But you cannot ground pound like you normally could as that'll crash the game. But you can do anything else you want. Hopping out of the shell will spawn a real dry bones and then immediately take damage and fall apart. So you can still use this to clear large gaps. Unfortunately though, levels with smuggled items cannot be uploaded. If you try to, you'll get met with this message saying that the level is corrupt. Like I said, you can basically import any item from Mario World into 3D using this method, but some items may crash the game. Still, it's a really cool glitch and something I've always wanted to do. Well, here we are at the #1 glitch in Switch games, and this one definitely deserves the spot as there's just so much you can do with it. Menu storage in Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. This game-breaking glitch allows you to get out of bounds to reach legendaries early, skip parts of the story, and duplicate any Pokemon and items. Seriously, one of the biggest glitches I think I've ever seen, and not just in Switch games. There's even more we can do with this glitch, but let's show you how to get the menu storage first. It's really easy. Open up your Pokemon menu and check out the summary of anyone in your party. Once on this screen, you need to press the back two bumpers ZL and ZR almost simultaneously, but delay one by about half a second. So something like bop. After that, simply press B, and if you see the items menu flash behind your Pokemon like this, then you got the menu storage glitch. Keep pressing B to back out of all the extra menus you get until you reach the overworld again with the main menu pulled up. It might seem like I did a lot of different button inputs here, but I promise it was just clicking B repeatedly. Now, as you can see, we still have the main menu pulled up, but now we can move around. The game will also move the menu selection like we pulled it up normally, so it looks pretty odd. But that's all the setup there is to it. By simply checking the summary of a Pokemon, pressing ZL and ZR slightly off, brings up one of the most broken glitches I've seen in a game in a while. So let's do some stuff. Let's kick this off with duplicating any Pokemon and item you want. Start by having one Pokemon in your party and put another into an empty box. It's important to know that whatever Pokemon you have here in your box will be sacrificed and deleted. So grab or catch one you don't mind losing. They're going to a good cause though, don't worry. Whatever Pokemon is in your party is the one we're going to be duplicating, so pick a good one and give them any item to hold if you want to dupe that too. Now find a patch of grass, as we're going to need to encounter a Pokemon soon. Start off by doing our normal menu storage glitch by checking the summary, pressing ZL and ZR slightly off, back out until you have the main menu pulled up in the overworld. The menu will stay up even while we encounter a Pokemon, but once it does, we need to do a few things. In order to avoid a soft lock, wait until the screen flashes fully white and then select Pokemon on the menu. Enter your boxes and quickly move your Pokemon from the box into your party. Then just back out of everything and run from the battle. Check your Pokemon now, and you should see a little something sitting there. A level 0 dead egg in place of the Pokemon we moved, also known as a bad egg. This egg can crash your game very easily, so follow along closely. Do not go down and try and view the egg in any way. You can stare at it all you want from a distance, but don't try and select it. Anyway, enter your boxes again and immediately press Y twice to bring up the multi-select option. This will help the game not crash while we duplicate. But from here, you can clone the first Pokemon in our party by picking them up and placing them in the third slot here. This will cause a glitchy animation, and a second cloned Mon will appear. Congrats, you cloned your first Pokemon. From this point, you can just repeat the process of grabbing one of them and placing them a slot below the first empty one. Even though it doesn't seem like it, the bad egg is still filling up a slot in our party, it's just invisible. So you can't place another Pokemon there, so select the one past it to duplicate it. You can do this as many times as you'd like, as you can just dump the 4 Pokemon into your box and continue on. When you're done cloning, we want to remove the bad egg from our party. To do this, clone an additional one to sacrifice and leave them in the second slot. So once you have 2 cloned Mons and the bad egg, we can keep going. Activate menu storage again and encounter another Pokemon. We need to do a similar setup to the start of this glitch, but we're going to be moving the Pokemon into the box this time. So once you encounter one, wait for the white flash and then go into your boxes. Before you do anything, press Y twice to switch to multi-select again and move the first guy into the box. Then just close out of everything and run from the battle. Now if you check your Pokemon, you'll see that, yep, it's gone. And now you're safe from any game crashes and have duplicates of Pokemon and items you started with. So basically any Pokemon that you captured and any items that can be held by Pokemon can be duplicated using this method. Enjoy the unlimited amounts of Master Balls and rare candies, making it a whole lot easier to catch legendaries or build a competitive Pokemon team without all the grinding. Moving over to surfing on land on Route 213. We need to start by standing up by this building. Activate menu storage like usual, and have the menu pulled up near the door. Canceling the menu while walking through a door will cancel this transition, essentially freezing the overworld. While we can still run around, all the trainers stop moving and the door just stays open. Now we just need to walk down to the water and surf. Immediately after hopping on, the game will unfreeze and load the door transition, placing us inside the building and surfing on land. You now need to move slowly, so just tilt the control stick very slightly in the direction that you want to go. Now that we have this activated and understand what we can do, we can catch Pokemon early. First up, Giratina. Come over to Valor Lakefront in this patch of trees. We're able to just glide right over these trees and get out of bounds. Once you see water, surf up and slightly right until you reach the spring path and this small opening in the trees. This is the load zone that would normally block you off until you complete the game, but we can't access it just yet as we're so high up in the air. To correct the height in a land surf, open your menu and select ball capsules. Press plus to open the preview animation and then close out of everything. Doing this snaps your character back down to the ground that it's supposed to be on, allowing us to continue inside the load zone. Now in Send Off Spring, we normally need to rock climb up the cliff, but with the land surf, you can just phase right through the wall. The collision of the cliffs are still there, so you do need to kind of maneuver through the path like you normally would, running from any Pokemon you encounter. Go up and around where another rock climb slope is, and conveniently you can go right through it and right into the entrance of Turnback Cave, Garatina's resting place. You should have defog at this point as it's in Pastoria City, so pop that and complete the puzzle to reach Garatina's room. They're level 70, so getting here early might make it difficult to catch, but if you have the right moves, you should be fine. So yeah, that's Garatina early, and you can do a similar method to catch Shaman, but he's already released now in the game, so there's really no point in showing that here. You can even skip the champion fight with Cynthia using this. After battling your way through the Elite Four, stand outside the door, get menu storage, and pull up the Pokedex. Walk through the door and save your game right in front of her face. Reload your game, and now you'll be free to run around this room, which you normally can't even do. You can mess around with Cynthia here, but when you want to go to the Hall of Fame, simply step on the elevator and it'll function like normal. The camera stays down here, so you'll just see your shadow ascend, and when the screen transitions, you'll be caught up and back to normal. And there you go, Hall of Fame without even touching Cynthia. I guess they both have dementia from doing this glitch, as her and Professor Rowan just talk about how fierce of a battle that was, even though I did not do anything. Anyway, you can sit back and watch the ending credits play out. So yes, these are just a couple of the things you can do with menu storage, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. But you can see how much potential this glitch has. With that though, there were the top 10 glitches in Switch games that I've covered. As you saw, unfortunately some of these glitches have been patched out of their respective games, but they were just too impactful at the time not to include. This was a change of pace from my normal videos, but if you enjoyed, please consider dropping a like and subscribing. I kind of want to cover the top 10 Switch mods I've done, so let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. But for now, I'm gonna get up out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, see ya!